Hello everyone, welcome to Modern Day Gamer, and in today's video I will be ranking the Star Wars movies from the worst one to the absolute best one, and this is my personal opinion, so you may not agree with me, but I'm sure a lot of people will agree with me, um, and this is subjective as well. I'm going to be taking in the fact, like, my favorite movie probably won't be at the top of this list. It's still my personal opinion on a lot of these, but at the top of the list, it's going to be more of what Star Wars fans, as a whole, say. This is kind of like a guide, a list of if you are new to Star Wars, what movies should you be waiting for and excited for, and what um, movies can you just kind of watch but and still enjoy, but not really care too much about. So at number, I guess it would be 9 now with the new release of Episode 8, I'm going to put Star Wars Episode 2, The Clone Wars. It's not that I hate the Clone Wars, and it's just that the Clone Wars has the least amount of redeemable qualities. It has the least amount of fun in it, um, as a whole. And I really do love the Clone Troopers. I think the Clone Troopers are my favorite army, but that has a lot more to do with the animated series of Star Wars as opposed to the Star Wars movie where they showed up and they were all CGI. I think they should have got actors um, and had the same actor that played Boba Fett or Jango Fett in this movie um, play all of the clone troopers that had their helmets off, and everyone else could have just been whatever. But this movie has the least amount of redeemable qualities. Moving on, um, the number 8 pick on my list is going to be Star Wars Rogue One. It's not that Rogue One is bad; it's that Rogue One doesn't feel like a definitive Star Wars story. Um, like it wasn't really needed. It's not that it wasn't it was worse than the other films because I think that it was really good and it received pretty decent reviews on Rotten Tomatoes and all that kind of stuff, and just in general. The issue with it is that it doesn't feel very Star Wars like because there's not a main character that is a Force user. There's not the old um, and I'm talking a Force user that uses a lightsaber and you can see them and all that kind of stuff. Because there was that one blind guy, but really it was just not very memorable. Um, I don't really remember any of the characters' names besides the main character, Jyn Erso. That's it. Um, so I kind of put this one down at number 8. It's better than the Clone Wars because it's a better film, but it's it's forgettable. Number 7 on the list is Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. This film is very interesting. Um, the fight scene at the end is really good, and the music for that fight scene is incredible. And I do like the film. Um, Liam Neeson is in it, and this is the first time we see Obi-Wan Kenobi as a young man. And the first time we see Anakin. The pod race scene was really good. I really enjoyed that. A lot of people did. And it was just one of those things where the movie, though it had some moments that were unforgettable, which makes it better than um, episodes episode 2 and Rogue One, it still had a lot of issues. Jar Jar Binks, which in hindsight, if he was just a character to use to further the plot, say here's the Gungan city, this is how you get here, and then he was gone and out of the movie, it would have been fine. But his character was just kind of annoying, and he felt like he was just used to try to create comic relief in a Star Wars story that didn't need comic relief, because it felt very serious. All the diplomatic stuff was kind of terrible. Hated watching all that kind of stuff. I wish Liam Neeson would have been more um, utilized in different ways than being shown just you know doing diplomacy and then um, fighting a few droids, like whatever. Um, Next on the list at number 6 is going to be Star Wars Episode 6. Just kidding. It's not going to be Episode 6. It's going to be Episode 8. Everybody knows Episode 8 was not that good of a film. And it's not that I hate Episode 8. It's that Episode 8 felt like a finale to a show that wasn't finite, to a trilogy that wasn't finished yet. And it answered all of the questions in the wrong way, which I did a review on this. I will leave it at the end, and you guys can click on it or whatever. I did a review. It's a spoiler review. It's just not. While it had some moments that made me go, "Oh yeah, this is Star Wars," it also had some moments where I went, "Where did Star Wars go?" And that's why I put it at number 6 on the list. Now number 5, we actually do have Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. I don't think this movie is bad. I don't think anybody thinks this movie is a bad movie or a terrible movie or anything like that. I just think that this movie is a movie that, watching it over again, felt really kind of kiddish. It kind of utilized the plot from Episode 4. And if they would have gone with a more like, oh, here's, it's not the Death Star, but this is, they're planning their final attack on a rebel base that was on Endor, then maybe it would have felt more finite. You would have had Luke fight Darth Vader and all that kind of stuff. This episode is good. It's a good episode. It's not the best episode. It has some memorable moments like Luke not giving in to the hate and all that kind of stuff. Finding out that Leia is his sister, Yoda dying, all that kind of stuff was really memorable. So I do enjoy this movie. And it's just kind of middle of the pack. That's why it's here at number 5. At number 4, I am going to put Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Episode 7, The Force Awakens. I think it's a better movie than Episode 6, but I think it is not... It takes a lot from Episode 4, just like Episode 6 does, except with The Force Awakens. It's just kind of got that new and fresh feel coming off for such a long time, not having any Star Wars movies to go off of. The bad guy is really awesome, and at the end of the movie, it left us with so many questions that it felt like a really good start to a trilogy. Now, this film, if I was looking at films as a whole and in the trilogy, would be much lower because Episode 8 ruined this film. I'm looking at each individual film and saying which ones I think are the best and which ones I think are the worst. And so this film lands itself at number 4. So then we have number 3. Number 3 on the list is going to be Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Now, I know a lot of you probably expected me to put Episode 3 here, but it's not going to be here. It's going to be the first Star Wars movie, the one that started it all. The reason it is lower than the next 2 episodes is because while it is better than all the other ones that I just mentioned, it is slow. For new Star Wars users, it is very hard to get into. It is not exactly the most exciting movie all the way through, but it set up the world we love, and you have to give credit where credit is due. It made us feel like we were there. It gave us a sense of love for this franchise, and so that is why Episode 4 lands at the number 3 spot on this list. At number 2, we have Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. This is my personal favorite movie, but I could not put it at number 1 because I know people would be upset, and I know the best movie for people to start off watching, if they're new to Star Wars, the movie that they need to expect and want to watch the most is the next one, and the number 1 on this list. But this movie, it takes every bad thing about the prequels, Episodes 1 and 2, and it kind of pushes those out the door a little bit. For the most part, 95% of this movie is really good and really well done. The other 5% is not. And that's kind of why it lands here at number 2. This movie is really good. It has the best fight scene to date in it, and I would not change that fight scene at all. I know a lot of people think it's too choreographed or whatever. This movie is an amazing movie. It's absolutely impeccable. And if you don't watch episodes 1 and 2, you can still watch this movie and get a sense and a feel for how the whole prequels went. And you might even get a better sense and feel than how they actually went. Um, this movie is a movie that I have seen multiple times, and it was the very first Star Wars movie that I ever owned. Because I love this movie so much, and to this day, Anakin Skywalker, um, right towards the beginning of the movie, kind of in the middle of the movie, and at the end of the movie, that whole arc where you can see this character change from pure good to evil is my favorite character in the whole Star Wars film. I love Anakin. I love how powerful he seems. And that just kind of brings the whole film. And Ewan McGregor's performance at Obi-Wan is undeniable. People still want him to do films for Obi-Wan today. And he's already said he's going to. So we're going to see an Obi-Wan film soon. And as you guys probably guessed, at number 1 on this list, Star Wars Episode 5. Episode 5, there's 100% of 100% that is good about this movie. There's not a time in the whole movie where I'm like, man, I'm bored, or I don't want to watch this. It is such a good, it is the definitive Star Wars movie. It's such a good movie. It's not boring. It moves right along at the right pace. The twist at the end of the movie is, and spoiler alert here, the greatest twist of all time, where Darth Vader says that, no, I am your father, and he says this to Luke. It is absolutely incredible. This movie, I could not have asked for a better Star Wars film, especially right in the middle of Star Wars hype. This movie is what propelled a lot of fans to become super fans. This movie is what propelled me to become a super fan as well. This movie and Episode 3. Um, I I love this movie. I think it is absolutely perfect. Um, and then there's not a thing that I would change about it. There's not enough good things you can say about this movie. Um, even by itself, it's a good film. Even without episodes 4 and episode 6, it's a good film, and it feels good. It feels like this is a solid film. Okay, so now we're at the end. If you guys are still here, thank you guys for watching. Um, I have some honorable mentions in terms of just Star Wars things. Honorable mention that would place number 1 on this list if it was a movie is Star Wars the Animated Series, the Clone Wars. So good. It is so good. If you guys haven't seen it, you need to watch it, especially if you're a Star Wars fan or someone who really wants to get into Star Wars but needs a softer place to start than a movie. Maybe you're not sure, you don't want to waste your time watching 2 hours of a movie. So watch this. Go in, skip season 1 and 2, start somewhere in season 3, watch the Mortis arc. It's incredible. Really good show. Go ahead and watch it. Thank you guys for watching this video. And if you're new, go ahead and subscribe. And if you want more like this, go ahead and let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys, and peace.